And he's also just really handsome. That's all you need to be a YouTuber these days. Alright, so before we begin the video, I just wanted to point something out before someone in the comments clocks me on it and I get mad. But yes, throughout this video I do have a very noticeable mask tan line on my face. I have been working in the sun for 5 days and it's there. I don't know when it's going away. I want to continue making YouTube videos and I don't want to wear makeup, so you're gonna see it. So fair warning, I guess. Anyways, onto the video. Hello kids, it's me again, now with the highly awaited, highly anticipated follow-up. It's not a follow-up to the first video about a conservative that I made. At this point, you've seen the title and the thumbnail, and I know when I announced this, you know, some of y'all were really wanting me to drag somebody, but that's not what we're going to do today. You know, last time when I did that, I mean, I guess it was pretty cathartic to drag somebody, but then I, you know, realized all of the very fun comments that I got, and well, I don't want to do that again, so we're gonna do something positive. Today, we're gonna talk about a conservative that I actually like. Now, okay, so the title. I, first of all, never thought all conservatives were bad. I never thought all of any demographic were bad, because that's just patently false. Rationally speaking, most conservatives aren't that bad. As far as I know, a lot of conservatives aren't really like, you know, social conservatives. They're more like, I don't know, business and government conservatives. A lot of them have some qualms when it comes to paying taxes. And you know what? I recently worked a job and I looked at my payslip and I saw how much they took out in tax, and you know, I have to agree with them, but I know that taxes are supposed to help out, you know, the society that we live in. They're supposed to do that. Do they actually do that? Who knows? But like, I get it. Enough of all of that. Let's just get into it. The person I'm going to be talking about today is another YouTuber. Been around about 5 years, maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. I forgot. And that person's name is J.J. McCullough. Canadian. Not American this time. And you'll see that being Canadian actually kind of makes a difference in conservatism. Let's just go down some basic facts. If you see me looking over here, this is my monitor. I have 2 pages of notes. Hopefully this video won't be too long. He's 36. He lives in Vancouver, British Columbia. That's on, if you don't know, that's on like the coast that way. Which way? The Pacific coast. His occupation, his formal occupation, is a political journalist, and he contributes to the Washington Post, I think, like once a week. If you want to look him up, you can. His articles are there. The other things that he does YouTube, which I think is more like his side gig. He's also a political cartoonist. I don't know if he's like a working political cartoonist, but that's something that he does as well. He used to be a pundit on a TV network called the Sun News Network that operated in Canada. I'm 90% sure that it broadcast like on television, but it's defunct now. It went belly up in 2015, so he no longer does that. And he also made this kind of all-encompassing website about Canada, which I'm blanking on the name right now, but you can look at it. I'll put it up here. I think it's pretty cool. I think, you know, it looks like something that a whole lot of work went into. Religion, as far as his religion goes, it's kind of ambiguous. He hasn't really talked about it. If he has talked about it, there are a couple of videos of him like answering questions about himself. Most of them I haven't watched, so oopsie. Didn't do all my research. But as far as his religion goes, he doesn't talk about it a whole lot, so it's ambiguous. I'm going to err on the side of him being religious rather than him being not religious. He is a big lover of nerdy things like Nintendo and video games and all of those things, which I think is cool. He really likes the United States, which, as someone who's lived here all of my life, I don't understand it, but hey, we all need something to like. It's a little weird for me, but I guess it's the same as, you know, Americans idolizing Canada, because some Americans do that, and I suppose it's in the same vein. I personally don't get it at all. He has a special disdain for French Canadians and, you know, French Canadian culture, which we will be getting into. It's a little weird, a little strange, but like I said, we'll get into that later. He is, of course, a conservative, which is very different from the American brand of conservatism. but we'll also get to that. I know people had a problem with me in my last, well, not my last video, but my video about Classically Abby where I said I would get to things and I never got to them. This time we're going to get to them because I have an outline, so don't worry about that. He has a really strong, like, stereotypical Canadian accent where he says things like a boot. Some people think it's fake. I personally don't really care. Like, it's not that deep if it's fake or not. He has a fantastic smile. I just thought I would point that out because just look at this. I could listen to him talk about nothing for 30 minutes straight. Probably longer. He has a number of websites, but his personal website that he has, I don't know why I included this. I guess it really stuck out to me, but his personal website is like extremely plain. It's just a picture of him and some information. Looks like a plain text HTML page. I also noticed when I went on his website, this had to be like a week or so ago, that his phone number is just out there, just chilling out in the world to see. I'm not going to call it because that would be weird, and I suggest you don't do that either. If you do that, I will spank you. That's really weird and bad. Don't do it. Like, I know this phone number is like out there, so therefore he wants to be contacted, but maybe don't. Just don't. Like, no. He does have a Twitter and I believe Instagram. I don't have Instagram, so I can't really look at it. But his Twitter, he tweets about politics and politics. That's kind of it. It's kind of boring to me. Surprise, surprise, I'm not really that into politics. There are obviously some things that, you know, I feel very strongly about. But, you know, stuff like, I don't know, immigration, maybe not immigration. There's just a whole lot of things politically that I just don't have opinions on. And it's kind of the stuff that he talks about. And it's like, also it's Canadian politics. And I don't live in Canada. And I'm not familiar with Canadian politics. So it's kind of hard for me to care about it. Also, this came as a surprise for me. Saying that, okay, so, you know, he's a conservative, right? And I think the majority of my audience is American, and I feel like we all have an idea in our heads about the American conservatives, and I guess Republicans as well, their opinions on the LGBT plus community. And, well, JJ is a part of the LGBT plus community. He is gay. And, you know, I feel like stranger things have happened. I tweeted about this on a different Twitter, so you wouldn't have seen it. But back in 2016, before the election, I used to listen to this podcast called This American Life, which is like part of NPR, I think. They did an episode about this kid whose name I forgot. His name is Alex, though. But he was both black, gay, and a Trump supporter, which I thought was a little odd, an odd combination. I didn't really understand how a person could do that, but, you know, I thought that episode was really eye-opening as to how, you know, someone could be that and hold those beliefs and support that kind of person. It's episode 580 of This American Life, if you're interested. There's not a whole lot about that fellow on the internet now. Like, he's kind of disappeared since then, but I can only assume that he has the same beliefs. I mean, I don't know. There's not really a whole lot going in one way or the other, so. JJ being gay and also a conservative, it's possible. I mean, you know, it's not really all that surprising. About Canadian conservatism. So, you all know what the American flavor of conservatism is, and I would say, well, not just me, but also JJ would also say that that kind of conservatism is pretty extreme compared to Canadian conservatism. So the way he describes Canadian conservatism as is that Canadian conservatives believe that things how they are right now, they're 100% fine, good, do not need to change. They're very against change and very not progressive, which is, if you think about it, kind of paradoxical because, you know, and he says this in his video about American versus Canadian conservatism, you know, if something were to change, like in the government, conservatives would still say, like, okay, even though that's changed, that is the way that things are now, and they don't need to change any further. He describes American conservatism kind of like American liberalism, which is strange until he explained it. And the way he explained it was that, you know, liberals and I guess progressives, which I don't know if you can lump those into the same, I don't know, audience or group, they're very for change, but they're for change in a forward-facing direction. And he says that American conservatives are for change, but they're for change in a backward-facing direction. So whereas I, a lib, would want, things to improve in the country and things to move forward and, stuff like that, an American conservative would want things to change and improve, but also be the way that they were decades ago. And that really makes sense, and that's kind of the difference between American and Canadian conservatism. Also, Canadian conservatism isn't as religious as American conservatism, because American conservatism, how many times am I going to say conservatism in this video? American conservatism is very rooted in evangelical beliefs, and he also has a video on that. I'm going to be linking his channel since, I respect him. So if you want to watch all these videos, you can. But he has a video about how American conservatism became really rooted in religious beliefs, and I thought that was interesting. And Canadian conservatism isn't really like that all that much. And they're also not as socially conservative. They're more about, business, taxes, government, things like that. So I would say that Canadian conservatism is like a really, really mild flavor of American conservatism. American conservatism is like flamin' hot Cheetos, and Canadian conservatism is regular Cheetos. We love a good analogy over at the It's Just Arin YouTube channel. As I said before, this feels odd because as far as I know, JJ has been a conservative or held conservative beliefs for I'm not going to say most of his life, because obviously as a child you don't hold any political beliefs. We're going to say high school, because high school is around when you start holding beliefs about things. From high school until now, he has been a conservative, but he's also, part of the LGBT community, and it feels odd. However, I did explain it before, but, since Canada isn't as socially conservative as the United States, I guess it would make more sense. I would be way more confused about an American LGBT person being a conservative than a Canadian, I guess. And we also have to realize that Canada has had marriage equality since 2005. So a full 5 years before, no, it's full 10 years before we did. Marriage equality was legalized in the Supreme Court in 2015 in America. So, they've had that for way longer than we have. They've been, I guess, Canadian society at large has been exposed to it for way longer. So I guess that kind of makes sense. But, I would like to know his opinions about all of that, his identity and, his political leanings. Do they ever clash? Is it, contentious? I would like to know. And he probably talked about it in a video, but I haven't seen all of his videos, so I can't say. So, about his journalism. It's boring. That's really all I can say. I tried to read some of his Washington Post articles, and it was just about Canadian politics, and that's not something that interests me, so I couldn't really sit through it, It was just okay, he writes for the Washington Post, and they're fine, I guess. I don't know. They could be really spicy and divisive, but I wouldn't know because I didn't read them. I'm not sure if he contributes to any other publications. For now, I think it's just the Washington Post, and maybe some Canadian places too. So, we kinda need to talk about the French-Canadian thing. It's too weird for me to not include it in this video about him, right? Because that feels like kind of a big part of his, I guess, political leanings or ideology or something. I don't know. He has a large disdain for, I believe they're called francophones up there, and I guess these are his reasons for it. Okay, before I even get into it, I just want to say that all of this seems really absurd to me. Personally, I can't understand why that's that way, so whatever, we'll just get into it. He has a series of videos on his channel about his disdain for French Canada and French Canadians and French Canadian politics, etc. And almost all of those videos have a busted like to dislike ratio. He wrote some article, he talks about it in a video. He wrote some article about how bilingualism, or I actually forgot, but he talks about how something negative about French Canada. I forgot, okay. And he either got condemned by Parliament or he almost did. But either way, the French Canadian government does not like him at all. That's kind of how deep it goes. So his reasons for disliking all of them is that he doesn't like forced bilingualism in the government. If you don't know this, Canada is a officially bilingual country. Their official languages are English and French, and as such, anything like official coming from the government has to be published in both French and English. Sometimes public addresses, like on TV or radio or whatever, are given in English and French. A lot of businesses have to have signage in both French and English. Road signs are in French and English, and that's basically it. However, he thinks that this is kind of absurd because apparently francophones are a minority in Canada, and he thinks they're trying to be treated like a majority, which I don't understand that because, like, so he doesn't like forced bilingualism in the government, and he has this really weird reverence. He really likes the English language, and not because he's into linguistics, but because, you know, English is good because I speak English, and therefore everybody should speak English. And I know that sounds absurd and weird, but he does kind of also actually say that. I'm going to insert the clip.
So to begin, I am a huge fan of the English language and a big evangelist for it. I think everyone in the world should learn to speak English. I don't think they should be forced to do it, and I don't think they should give up any other language that they may speak, but I just think objectively it is a very, very wise thing to do. Now, the reason why I think this is because I think it is pretty clear that English is by far the world's most useful language. It is the dominant language of the internet and technology and science and business, and is also the bridge language that helps unite a diversity of people around the world. If a Japanese guy wants to talk to a Portuguese guy, chances are they will speak English. I mean, the Japanese guy could learn Portuguese and the Portuguese guy could learn Japanese, but then what would happen when either of them met a Norwegian guy? Since we live in a world with so many different languages, it is very useful to everyone if one language winds up being the sort of neutral, unifying language, the one that can serve as the communication bridge between many different sorts of people. English has arisen to fulfill that role. Now, I'm very lucky in life because I speak fluent English as my first language. This means that I don't actually have to do that much work to effectively communicate with a diversity of people in this big globalized world of ours. I have traveled a fair bit, and English is usually enough to get by. For this, I am very privileged and very grateful. I think it is a cause for humility, but I also don't think it's something I have to apologize for or punish myself for or otherwise attempt to fix about myself.
That threw me for a loop when I watched it last night because, like, everyone needs to speak English, and it's like, okay, I understand that English has become the de facto lingua franca of the world. And if you don't know what lingua franca is, it's like a bridge language to, like, connect everyone. In the past, it's been French, funnily enough, Greek, Latin, and probably some other ones. There have been, you know, efforts to make a truly international language like Esperanto and etc., but those always fall flat. And now in the 21st century, English is the lingua franca of the world, which is cool. But I mean, if you're not like a world leader or someone like a international business person and you don't live in a primarily English speaking country, it's like, do you really need to learn it? You know, no, I don't know. He doesn't like Quebec's political party because Quebec has their own distinct political party. It's called the Bloc Québécois. Very French. I think they're also like a French or Francophone separatist party, which is like, you know, Quebec. It's kind of like Texas. I don't know if they're like kind of, if they're serious about it in Texas, but they're definitely serious about it in French Canada. Texas is always threatening to secede from the Union. That's something that happens every so often. And Quebec is also constantly threatening to secede from Canada, even though in both cases it's probably never going to happen. So it's like, who cares? I think it's because, you know, they're a Quebec separatist party that he dislikes them, not necessarily on their like politics or whatever. So he has kind of, you know, soured relations with Francophones in Canada. He did go to Quebec once, and this is I was watching all the videos about him and Quebec and Francophones, like that whole playlist last night, and when he had a vlog where he went to Quebec, and he said that he was like at a restaurant or a cafe or something, and I'm sorry, it's just funny, but when he was there, the waiter was like, why are you even here? Like, don't you hate Quebec? And I just feel like that didn't happen at all. I'm sorry. Listen, Canadians, you can chime in. Quebecers, you can also chime in. I don't know how big of a public figure JJ McCullough is in Canada, so I don't know. That very well could have happened, but it sounded so fake. It just sounded so fake. I don't know, man. But anyways, he also had some beef, very brief beef, with a French-Canadian YouTuber whose name I forgot. Oopsie, I forgot the name. They squashed it around, 11 months ago, which is when his last video about all of that was published. He had a debate. It wasn't a debate. It was just like the French-Canadian guy recorded a video about his thoughts on things, and then JJ replied to it. They weren't actually face to face. Not really a debate. It was very civil, I will give it that. And I guess they kind of buried the hatchet there. At the end of that video, I thought it was really topical because they had like a section on how voting was important. And I guess that was when, 11 months ago might have been when the Canadian election was. Seeing that just reminded me of like all of the go vote messages that I've been seeing on the internet for like, the upcoming presidential election. And if you're wondering, I have already voted. Early voting, it's available in Alabama. I submitted my ballot, I've done my part, and hopefully it'll count for something. Oh boy. So, as an American, how do I feel about his strange dislike for French Canadians? I think it's weird. I said this before, and I just think it's strange. It's like, how much of this stuff really affects him on like a day-to-day basis, because he doesn't even live in Quebec, right? If he lived in Quebec, maybe I could understand like why he doesn't like all this forced bilingualism being shoved down his throat or whatever, but he lives on literally the other side of the country, and it's like, how often is he coming in contact with these things that he thinks that he needs to say something about it? It's like, okay, imagine this. It's like if I decided to dislike, California or Texas because they have the highest Hispanic population, because, bilingualism is a big thing in California and Texas, because I'm pretty sure schools they speak both Spanish and English in like California and Texas. I know in California, I don't know about Texas. And they have, signage in both languages, maybe not like road signs, but, businesses and stuff like that. It's like, despite the fact that I don't live in California or Texas and never have lived there, that I decided, you know what? We don't need bilingualism, it's a scam. And it's like, that literally doesn't affect me, like, at all. It's so not a part of my life. Like, why? That's all I want to know, is why. And it's like, okay, some teachers, they speak Spanish in Californian elementary schools. I'm not in elementary school anymore. I don't have any kids in elementary school. I don't have any kids, period. So it's like, how much of that is affecting me on a daily basis? None at all. So, I think it's a bigger thing in Canada since, I suppose Francophones are a lot more outspoken than the Hispanic population of the United States. They really advocate for themselves, which, I guess it's a good thing. It's like, it's just something that I don't understand. And if, another anti-Quebec person wants to chime in, be my guest. I would like to know what's the deal there. As far as, him as a person goes, I feel like this one thing is like maybe the worst thing about him. He's pretty much chill in every other regard. However, I will say that this one thing is very much not chill. And as far as I know, aside from any potential Washington Post articles or tweets that I haven't seen, his debate with the French-Canadian YouTuber was like the last time that he talked about anything French-Canada related, as far as I know anyways. And his content has shifted in a different direction. Still in politics, but not talking about the Quebecers nearly as much. I'm sure his like-dislike ratio is thanking him for that. Is it possible that I'm being indoctrinated over to the other side by this one agreeable character? And the answer is no. I don't even know why I included that selection. I guess, as I was watching his videos, I found myself maybe not agreeing with him, but I was way more willing to listen to him than I was willing to listen to Miss Abigail. Originally, when I was thinking of this video, I was gonna compare and contrast him and Abby, but I feel like it's not gonna make a very good video, but I thought I would include it here. So I think the reason, I went so hard on Abby is because she's kind of a not nice person. I don't want to swear on this channel, but she goes about her, message in a very inflammatory way, and it's definitely to get a reaction out of people. But is that how you want to spread your message? By being mean and just like nasty? That's not effective, is what I'm saying. If suddenly JJ decided to like ramp up his conservative ideals, but stayed the same person, like personality wise, you know, I'd be willing to listen to him. I want to listen to what he has to say. He has a great smile, and I just want to keep looking at it. This is the way. Like, if you were trying to convert people over to the other side, the conservative side, this is the way to do it. By being just a seemingly nice person, instead of being an inflammatory person who says that
women are sluts and liars and we need to take back the culture.
That's not gonna work. Has that ever worked? I legit want to know. Has that approach ever worked for anybody? And I'm gonna err on the side of no. However, I will say this. Abby compared to JJ, Abby's definitely a more radical conservative, way more socially conservative than JJ is. He's way more moderate, I would say, and therefore his views, aside from the French-Canadian stuff, which isn't unique to conservatives, by the way. I'm pretty sure there are, like, liberals who don't agree with French-Canadian things, but Abby is way more radical, JJ is way more moderate, which is why I'm willing to listen to him. So, you know, moral of the story is just be nice. I don't know if that's the real moral of the story, but it's just like, you know, if you have a differing opinion and you want people to listen to it, just be nice, be personable, be not crazy looking. I don't know. His current content, he uploads like every Saturday, and the stuff that he talks about is American politics. He talks about American politics a lot because, of course, he loves America so much. He just loves it here. Don't understand why. He's been talking about a lot of stuff regarding the upcoming election. I believe his last video, as I'm recording this, is about how the Supreme Court became politicized, because before, and I didn't know this, but before it was supposed to be, the Supreme Court was supposed to be completely apolitical thing that was supposed to just, you know, uphold the Constitution. But now, of course, we have a Supreme Court justice who are either clearly Democrat or clearly Republican, and that wasn't always the case, and I didn't know that. That was a really informative video and a cool video. I liked it. He also talks about vexillology, and if you don't know what that is, that's flags. I don't know why I did that. I don't know if I would consider myself a vexillologist, but I think his flag videos are very interesting. I think the video, if not last week, then the week before last, was about Mississippi's flag, because there's going to be, I don't know if you would call it a referendum, or like, there's going to be a vote on Mississippi's new flag. And, you know, he talked about that a little bit. And that's interesting to me because I currently sit in Mississippi. And you know what? I'm just going to show Mississippi's flag. Here she is. She is so pretty. Like, I like Mississippi's new flag. Like, I don't even care that they put "In God We Trust" on it. I will take "In God We Trust" over a racist symbol 10 times out of 10. And you know what? The design of the flag is just actually nice. I like the colors. I like what they stand for. I like the magnolia. You know, I could look at, well, I don't know if there are any magnolia trees out there. I could drive around Jackson and like spot magnolia trees all over the place. You know, that's what Mississippi is to me. Not racism. He does a lot of videos about like fun facts and things like that. Mostly about like Canadian prime ministers. I don't know. The one that's coming to my head right now is he did a video about one Canadian prime minister who only served for like a couple of months, and like everybody hated her. And it's like, you know, I don't know these things. I'm not from Canada. I like to learn about Canada. And I would say generally that he has pretty good, fun, interesting content, and I would recommend that you watch him, because it's just, you know, he's a good YouTuber. That's what I think anyways. He's consistent, he makes good, well thought out, well researched content, and he's also just really handsome. So, you know, I will say though, there are definitely a lot of American YouTube channels that talk about politics, but I would say that there aren't that many Canadian YouTube channels that talk about Canadian politics specifically, because all of the Canadian YouTubers that I know of, they have either like general content or niche content, but not really about Canadian politics. Like, they don't talk about it at all, which, you know, I think it's cool that we have a YouTube channel that talks specifically about Canadian politics, because I feel like a lot of people like to see the internet as distinctly American. It's good to see what's going on in other countries, you know, and it may be from a conservative point of view. I would like to see some liberal Canadian YouTubers just to like balance it out. But other than that, I mean, recently he hasn't really been talking about Canadian politics all that much. That'll conclude this video about the only conservative YouTuber that I can tolerate. Twitter, Ko-fi, Twitch. I've been very busy recently, so who knows when I'm gonna stream again. Oh, before I forget, I almost forgot. after this video goes up, there, I don't know which one it is. It's either over here or over there. The card, the info card. I'm going to let you all choose what video I make next in a poll on my community tab, so keep an eye out for that. But until then, I guess I'm gonna go watch more JJ McCullough videos because I actually like his content. Wow.